Since even before the start of the conflict, arbitrary and mass detention had become a daily occurrence for Tigrayans living in various parts of Ethiopia. But in the days leading up to and following the start of the conflict, the Ethiopian government's campaign of mass arrest of Tigrayans would intensify. Another large-scale campaign of mass arrest would take place in November of 2021, following the declaration of state of emergency that was used primarily to arrest ethnic Tigrayans, put them in concentration camps, and later falsely accuse, beat, torture, and kill them. Even in the capital, where the eyes of the world lied, many Tigrayans were kidnapped from the road and put in unidentified detention sites. Reuters reported in June that it had been able to confirm the detention of more than 15,000 Tigrayans between November and February alone, and that 17 had died in custody. A formerly detained Tigrayans told international media outlets that they were abused in detention sites and that children were among those held in these gross detention centers.
The police might have mood swings that you might get kicked. There are a lot of ways you were kicked. I personally also was kicked one day for doing nothing. I did nothing. I was about to take a shower. Guys who were kicked a lot of times. They only need a reason to kick you.
Astonishing, to learn that there were kids with us there. I specifically remember this kid. He was in grade 7. He barely began high school, and he wasn't even born in Tigrai. His father is a Tigrian, and his mother is not even Tigrian.
Now, new reports coming out of the capital are starting to once again indicate that the regime had started a campaign of arbitrary detention of Tigrayan residents of the city. Many are being forcibly taken from the road, from their place of residence and work, to detention centers across many parts of the country.
Addis Ababa Tigrai Mari Buna Satin of Hadenda Buna Ati, Dikan of Hadenda Buna Satahu, that Bairuf minibus Mekina Museum, Kari Museum Kiwalkum, Asa Hizom Bumulom, the tone of Tamakin and Dawaru, Budula, the Vetri, Pinatium, Tabim Kudan and Dawaru, the Toilum, Tumna. Tium, nav the police Sidom, none of the High Holotaka, the law. Tayaz bar posta awsidom adrasha ሁሉ ነገር መዝጋብ ጀሚሮም ዘም ካብ ሀገር ካብ ገጠር ዝመጹ ደቂ ሰባ ዘይኮኑ ገደገደ እንዳራዩ ወንቃስ ቤተሰብ ጠያቅ ዘይብሎም ገደ እንዳራዩ አትሪፎሞም ንሕና ቤተሰብ ዘለና ቤተሰብ መጽ ጠያቅና ሰባት አውጪዮም.
The residents tell us that as they were leaving, the officers told them that they were going to take those that they had left behind to Awash Arba, an internment camp in the state of Afar, and said they may even display them as prisoners of war.
እዚኦም ከንታ ገውሮም ዘን አዋሽ አርባ እዮም ክለቆም ኢሎም አዋሽ አርባ ሪቆም ስእሊ አስኢሎም ምርኮኛታት ናይ TDF ኢሎም ከወስዱም ከምጎዶስ.
Another Tigrayan resident tells us he'd been detained several times before. The first time, he tells us, he was detained in Awash Sabat, another internment camp in the Afar state. It was even displayed as a prisoner of war on state media. The Tigrayans say that they're living in constant fear and that they are unable to go anywhere, including markets, banks, and their place of work. The rounding up and detention of Tigrayans has been confirmed by multiple international organizations and media outlets over the past 2 years. And despite this indicating a clear violation of international human rights law and principles, the international community has remained on the sidelines, reporting but failing to take any concrete action that could deter the Ethiopian government from continuing its campaign of discrimination and abuse.